Jamie sat on the same wooden bench, backpack hugged tight against his chest. His sneakers dangled above the dirt, swinging just a little. For hours, he watched the world go by. Kids raced past, their shouts echoing. Parents called after them. Nobody noticed the boy who stayed quiet, staring at his shoes. A chilly wind tugged at Jamie's sleeves, but he didn't move. If he went home, the apartment would be empty, just like yesterday. Just like every day since his mom left. Someone else watched from a distance a dog, old and grizzled, with a coat gone gray around the muzzle. He limped slowly through the grass, head down, ribs showing through the fur. No collar. No owner in sight. His eyes, cloudy but kind, followed Jamie's. Every move. Jamie felt the stare. At first, he ignored it. Then he glanced over, finding the dog sitting a few yards away, tail curled around his body, watching and waiting. Jamie's heart squeezed tight. "What do you want?" he whispered under his breath. The dog didn't come closer, just tilted his head and stared as if he could see right through Jamie. Some kids tossed a ball nearby, nearly hitting the dog. He flinched but didn't leave. Jamie flinched too, hugging his backpack tighter. For a long while, nothing happened. Just the wind in the leaves and the two of them, both alone in a crowded park. A woman pushing a stroller glanced at the dog and wrinkled her nose. "Someone should call animal control," she muttered to another parent. Jamie's cheeks burned. He didn't want anyone to take the dog away. For some reason, he liked knowing someone else was just as lost as he was. The dog finally stood, his legs shaky, and limped closer. Jamie's breath caught. He didn't know whether to run or stay. The dog stopped a foot away, sat down with a soft grunt, and looked up at Jamie. The silence between them grew heavy, thick with questions neither could ask. Jamie tried not to stare, but the dog wouldn't look away. He looked tired and hungry, but his gaze was gentle. Jamie's voice shook when he finally spoke. "You're old, huh?" The dog blinked slow, as if he understood. "Why are you out here?" Someone laughed behind Jamie, a group of older kids pointing. "Look, that stray's back. Bet he bites." Jamie glared at them, but his eyes stung. The kids wandered off, their voices fading. Jamie reached into his backpack and pulled out a half-eaten sandwich. He held it out, but hesitated. Was he allowed to feed a stray? He broke off a piece anyway and held it out. "Here," he whispered. The dog inched forward, nose twitching, and gently took the food from Jamie's hand. He chewed slow, licking the boy's palm with a rough, warm tongue. Jamie almost smiled. He hadn't felt this needed in a long time. After a minute, the dog rested his head on Jamie's sneaker, sighing deeply. Jamie froze, unsure what to do. No one had touched him, not even a dog, in weeks. His eyes welled up, but he blinked hard. Refusing to cry in front of everyone, "You're not afraid of me?" Jamie said, voice small. The dog just breathed slow and heavy, eyes half closed. Jamie's hand drifted down and scratched gently behind the old dog's ear. "I don't have anywhere else to go," he admitted. The dog's tail thumped once on the dirt. Jamie kept petting him, fingers working through the matted fur. "I wish I knew your name," Jamie whispered. The dog made a soft sound, almost like a sigh. Jamie giggled, the sound surprising even himself. He felt lighter, like a tiny bit of the sadness was being lifted off his chest. Shadows grew longer as the sun dropped behind the playground. Kids left one by one. Jamie and the dog stayed. He looked at the sky, then at the animal. "I have to go soon," he said, regret filling his voice. The dog sat up as if he understood and stared into Jamie's eyes. It was like he wanted to say, "You're not alone." Jamie pressed his lips together, fighting back another wave of tears. "Will you be here tomorrow?" The old dog didn't answer, but his gaze said enough. Jamie picked up his bag. Before he left, he gave the dog one last scratch behind the ear. "Bye, old boy," he whispered. The dog watched as Jamie walked away, not moving, just sitting in. The golden evening light at the edge of the park. Jamie turned for one last look. The old dog was still there, eyes fixed on him, tail tapping slowly against the grass. For the first time in forever, Jamie didn't feel completely invisible. He didn't know the dog's story. He didn't know if the dog would return. But as Jamie walked home, he felt a flicker of hope, small, fragile, but alive. And somewhere behind him, the old dog watched and waited, holding on to that same hope too. Next afternoon, Jamie returned to the park, his heart thudding with nerves and hope. His eyes darted to the empty bench, afraid the old dog might not come back. He tried to act casual, but his palms were sweaty as he sat down and set his backpack beside him. Minutes crawled by. Kids screamed from the swings. Someone played loud music on their phone. Jamie bit his lip, searching the grass, every shadow making his heart jump. Then he saw him. The old dog limped out from behind a tree, moving slow but steady. Jamie almost gasped with relief. The dog's fur was still tangled, his limp the same, but his eyes locked on Jamie with a kind of quiet promise. The dog made his way over and sat next to Jamie. No barking, no begging, just there, breathing in rhythm with the boy. Jamie didn't say anything at first, but his whole body relaxed, shoulders dropping. "You came back," Jamie whispered. The dog's tail thumped once on the dirt. They sat together as if nothing in the world could touch them. Rain clouds gathered overhead, but neither moved. A couple jogged past, glancing at them with raised eyebrows. "Isn't that stray dangerous?" the woman murmured. Her partner shrugged. "Probably just hungry." Jamie bristled, looking down at the dog. "Don't listen to them," he said softly. The old dog stretched out, pressing his side against Jamie's shoe, eyes closing halfway. Jamie smiled and pulled a little piece of bread from his bag. "I saved this for you," he said, handing it over. The dog accepted it gently, licking Jamie's fingers before chewing slowly. More people stared as they passed. Some whispered. A few took wide steps around them. Jamie felt exposed, like everyone could see his loneliness. But the dog stayed close, unbothered by any of it. Rain started to fall, first as a light drizzle, then heavier. Most people ran for shelter, but Jamie didn't move. The old dog shook himself and pressed closer, sharing his body warmth. "You're not scared of the rain, are you?" Jamie asked. The dog yawned, head resting on Jamie's lap. Jamie let his fingers drift over the damp fur. "I guess you've been outside a lot," he said. "Me too. I'm outside almost every day after school. It's quieter here than at home." Lightning flashed, making Jamie flinch. The dog didn't move. "I wish I could take you with me," Jamie whispered. But the words barely made it past his lips. A woman hurried over, umbrella in hand, her eyes darting between Jamie and the dog. "Sweetie, do you know whose dog that is?" she asked. Jamie shook his head. "He's not mine. He just comes here." She frowned. "He should be at a shelter, not outside like this." Jamie's jaw clenched. "He's not hurting anyone." The woman shook her head, then walked away, glancing back one last time. Jamie watched her go, stomach tight. The rain eased. The park emptied, leaving just Jamie and the old dog. Jamie let out a sigh. "You're the only one who doesn't leave," he said, voice trembling. The dog opened one eye, then nudged Jamie's hand with his nose, tail wagging. Jamie blinked hard, fighting tears. "You don't care that I'm different, do you?" The dog licked his knuckles as if saying, "Not at all." A few minutes later, Jamie reached into his backpack and pulled out his sketchbook. He turned to a blank page and began to draw the old dog, starting with the floppy ears and the soft, tired eyes. The dog watched, head cocked, as if curious about what Jamie was doing. "You know," Jamie whispered, "I used to draw superheroes, but you're more real than any of them." He showed the dog the picture, and the dog tilted his head, almost like he approved. A group of kids passed, snickering. "Jamie's talking to dogs again." One of them jeered. Jamie looked down, face burning. But the old dog stood up and barked once, a deep, rough sound that made the kids pause and walk away quicker. Jamie grinned. "Thanks, buddy." The rain started again, but this time softer, like a promise. Jamie didn't care about getting wet anymore. "If you want," he said, "you can come back tomorrow. I'll be here." The old dog stood, shook the water from his coat, and nudged Jamie's hand with his nose, then slowly limped away across the field. Jamie watched him go, heart heavy but hopeful. He packed up his things and walked home, feeling less alone then. Before as Jamie left the park, he looked back and saw the old dog sitting under a tree, watching him with those same gentle eyes. Jamie raised his hand in a small wave. That night, Jamie lay in bed, thinking of the old dog, and wondered if maybe, just maybe, the world wasn't so lonely after all. Maybe tomorrow would be better, and somewhere, in the dark, the old dog waited for another tomorrow too. If you feel connected to this story, please like, share, and let me know your city or country below. Jamie hurried to the park after school, his feet splashing through shallow puddles left by last night's rain. All day he'd wondered if the old dog would be there. He barely noticed the other kids on the playground. His eyes scanned every corner until, finally, he spotted a familiar shape curled up under their bench. Jamie's heart lifted. He jogged over, backpack bouncing, and the dog looked up, wagging his tail just a little. "Hey, you waited for me," Jamie said, his voice softer than he meant. He set his things down and sat, careful not to disturb the dog. The old dog shifted, scooting closer until his head rested right against Jamie's sneaker. Jamie dug into his bag and pulled out a small baggie. "Look what I brought," he whispered, showing the dog a slice of ham saved from lunch. The dog's ears perked up as Jamie tore the ham in half and handed it over. The dog took it with surprising gentleness, chewing slow and content. A bright yellow tennis ball rolled under the bench, probably left by another kid. Jamie picked it up, brushing away the mud. "You play fetch?" he asked, holding up the ball. The dog lifted his head, eyes shining for a moment. Jamie rolled the ball. A few feet away. At first, the dog just looked at it, then slowly got up, limping after the ball. He grabbed it in his mouth, tail wagging with real excitement, and hobbled back to Jamie. The sight was so silly and sweet that Jamie burst out laughing. A real, honest laugh that felt strange in his throat. The dog dropped the slobbery ball. At Jamie's feet, Jamie wiped away tears of laughter. "You're not very fast, are you?" he teased. The dog just barked, a rough, happy sound, and nudged the ball again. They played their slow game of fetch for a while. Each time, Jamie tossed the ball a little farther, and each time, the dog made the awkward, determined trip to bring it back. No matter how much his limp slowed him down, a little girl walking by with her mom stopped to watch. "Mommy, look. That boy's playing with the doggy." Jamie smiled shyly, waving at her. The mom smiled back, pulling her daughter along, but not before she whispered, "He looks happy." Jamie's grin faded a little as he sat back down, the old dog curling up at his feet. "I don't usually feel happy," Jamie said softly, almost afraid to admit it. "Not since Mom left. Dad works so much. I'm just here." He wiped his face with his sleeve. The dog looked up at Jamie, big brown eyes full of understanding. Jamie sighed and reached out, scratching behind the dog's ear. "You get it, don't you?" Sometimes I think nobody does, but you do. A couple of older boys walked past, kicking at the grass. That mutt's still hanging around? One of them sneered. Bet he's got fleas, Jamie bristled, clenching his fists. The dog only looked at the boys, ears back, but didn't move. Jamie turned away, choosing to focus on the dog instead. After a while, Jamie began to talk, words spilling out in the quiet park. My mom left a few months ago. Dad says she had to go far away for work, but I know that's not true. He doesn't talk much anymore. Just works and sleeps. Nobody at school talks to me. They think I'm weird. The old dog nudged Jamie's hand, licking his fingers. You're the best listener, Jamie whispered. I wish I could tell you everything. You don't judge, you just stay. Jamie smiled, small but real. It felt good to finally say the words out loud, even if the only one hearing them was a dog. A gentle breeze rustled the leaves, and Jamie sat quietly, letting his sadness float away for a while. The dog rested his chin on Jamie's lap, eyes half closed, trusting and calm. Jamie stroked his fur, fingers tracing the scars and tangles. You know, Jamie said, maybe tomorrow I'll bring you something better than ham. Like real dog food. Would you like that? The dog wagged his tail, making Jamie giggle again. The sun slipped lower in the sky. Jamie packed his things, patting the dog's head. I'll see you tomorrow, okay? The dog licked his palm. A goodbye and a promise. Jamie walked home, the memory of his first real smile in months still fresh on his face. For the first time, he looked forward to tomorrow. Someone was waiting for him now, and back on the bench, the old dog curled up, tennis ball between his paws, as if he, too, finally had something to hope for. The next day, Jamie was almost running. By the time he reached the park, backpack bouncing against his side, he scanned the field, heart racing, hoping to spot the old dog on their usual bench. He spotted him almost right away, curled up and half asleep in the weak sunshine. As Jamie got closer, he noticed something new. A man in a stiff jacket was staring at the dog with a frown. The man's name tag read Mr. Willis, park caretaker. Jamie's stomach twisted. Mr. Willis turned to Jamie. You know this stray, son? His voice was sharp. Jamie tried to keep his cool. He's not hurting anyone. He just sits with me. Please don't make him leave. Mr. Willis shook his head. Stray dogs are trouble. It's not safe. I've already called animal control. About him once this week. If he's still here tomorrow, I'll have to report him again. Jamie's face flushed with panic. But he's not like other dogs. He's gentle. He just wants company. Mr. Willis sighed, softening just a bit. I'm sorry, kid. I can't have strays hanging around. It's park rules. Jamie waited until Mr. Willis was gone, then sat down next to the old dog. He stroked his head, whispering, Don't worry. I won't let anything happen to you. The dog looked up, trust shining in his tired eyes. Jamie noticed the old collar around the dog's neck, barely held together by a fraying piece of leather. It looked ready to snap. Jamie gently tugged at it, careful not to hurt the dog. You need something better, he said softly. I'll fix this for you. From his backpack, Jamie pulled out an extra shoelace. He worked quietly, tying the lace around the collar to make it stronger. There you go, he whispered. No one's taking you away. Not if I can help it. He glanced around and saw Mr. Willis talking to someone by the playground. Jamie lowered his voice. We need to keep you hidden. Just for a little while. Jamie broke off half his sandwich and handed it to the dog. Eat up. You'll need your strength. The dog gobbled it down, tail thumping against the bench. The afternoon wore on. A few people passed, looking at Jamie and the dog, some shaking. Their heads, some smiling a little. Jamie felt a mix of worry and pride. He wished he could protect the dog forever. Suddenly, Jamie heard Mr. Willis's voice again, closer this time. "I told you, son, you can't be feeding that stray. You could get bitten or worse." Jamie shook his head. "He wouldn't bite anyone. He just wants to be left alone." Mr. Willis's expression grew stern. "This is my last warning. If animal control comes, they'll take him away for good." Jamie's chest tightened with fear. He waited until Mr. Willis walked away before hugging the dog tight. "I won't let them take you," he whispered. Blinking back tears as the sun dipped lower, Jamie started planning. He searched his bag for anything useful. He found an old scarf and tied it around the dog's neck, covering the broken collar. "Now you look like you belong to someone," Jamie said, trying to sound brave. The dog licked his hand as if grateful. Jamie spotted a man in a uniform near the park entrance. He was talking into a radio, glancing around. Jamie ducked behind the bench with the dog, heart pounding. "She boy," Jamie whispered. "Just stay still. We can't let them see you." Minutes crawled by. The man in uniform walked away, and Jamie let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. He stroked the dog's ears, voice shaky. "I'm not giving up, not now." It was getting late. Jamie knew he had to go home, but he couldn't leave the dog unprotected. He took the makeshift leash he'd made from the scarf and shoelace and looped it gently around the dog's neck. "I'll come back tomorrow," he promised. "You just hide here until I do." The old dog nudged Jamie's side with his nose. Eyes soft and full of trust, Jamie walked home in silence, mind racing with worry and ideas. At dinner, he barely touched his food. His dad noticed. "Everything all right, Jamie?" Jamie shrugged. "Just tired, I guess." That night, Jamie lay awake, thinking about Mr. Willis, the animal control officer, and the old dog waiting alone in the park. He promised himself he would do anything to keep his friend safe. In the darkness, Jamie made a silent vow. "I won't let them take you, no matter what." And somewhere under the cold moonlight, the old dog waited, wrapped in a scarf and hope, trusting that his unlikely companion would come back. The next day, Jamie's heart hammered as he hurried down the street, his backpack swinging behind him. Every step felt heavy. He couldn't shake the memory of Mr. Willis's threat and the animal control van parked near the playground yesterday. What if they'd already taken his friend? What if he was too late? Jamie ran faster, sneakers pounding the sidewalk. When he reached the park, he stopped, chest heaving. He spotted the old dog beneath their usual bench, ears flat, tail tucked between shaky legs. The old scarf still wrapped his neck, but his eyes were wide and scared. Jamie knelt beside him, whispering, "It's okay, boy. I'm here." The dog whined softly, pressing close. Suddenly, a loud engine roared. Jamie looked up to see a white animal control van pulling up beside the playground. Two officers stepped out, one holding a long pole with a loop, the other talking into a radio. Mr. Willis was with them, pointing toward Jamie and the dog. "There!" Mr. Willis called out. "That's the stray." Jamie's stomach twisted in terror. He grabbed the dog's makeshift leash and yanked gently. "We have to go, now." The officers started across the field, their boots sinking in the damp grass. Jamie darted behind a bush, dragging the old dog after him. "Stay quiet, boy." "Please," Jamie whispered, crouching low. The dog pressed against him, trembling. Jamie peeked out as the officers searched, calling, "Here, pup, come on out." "We just want to help." Their voices didn't sound kind. Jamie's hand shook as he stroked the dog's fur, desperate for a plan. One officer spotted movement and pointed. "There, behind those bush." He moved faster, tightening his grip on the pole. Jamie's panic exploded. He ran, pulling the dog behind him, weaving between trees and playground equipment. His heart pounded. "Come on, boy." "This way." The old dog limped but kept up, trusting Jamie. Kids stopped playing to watch. "What's happening?" one girl cried. "Are they chasing that dog?" Jamie glanced back. The officers were closing in, nets and poles ready. Mr. Willis shouted, "Don't let the boy get away." Jamie's legs burned. He spotted a thick tangle of bushes near the baseball diamond and dove behind them, yanking the dog down beside him. Twigs scratched his arms, but he ignored it. "Stay down, boy. Don't make a sound." The dog pressed against Jamie, whole body shaking. Jamie hugged him, whispering, "I won't let them take you, I promise." Tears stung his eyes, but he blinked them away. He listened to the heavy footsteps and the officers' shouts. "They must be close," one officer muttered. A flashlight beam swept over their hiding spot. Jamie held his breath, barely daring to move. For what felt like forever, they waited. Sirens echoed from somewhere far off, mixing with the rumble of thunder. Rain started to fall again, soaking Jamie's hair, dripping cold down his neck. Suddenly, the officers moved on, searching other parts of the park. Jamie let out a shaky breath. "We did it," he whispered. "You're safe for now," but his relief didn't last. He heard Mr. Willis's voice nearby. "If you see that boy and the dog, call us. This can't go on." Jamie swallowed hard, brushing leaves from the dog's fur. "I wish I could take you home," he said, voice cracking, "but Dad wouldn't let me. He doesn't understand." The dog licked Jamie's cheek, a warm, rough thank you. Jamie managed a sad smile. "I don't care what anyone says. I'm not giving up on you." Rain poured harder, drenching them both. The park emptied as parents called their kids inside. Jamie waited until the animal control van drove off. Headlights cutting through the gloom. Jamie and the old dog crawled from their hiding place, soaked and shivering. Jamie pulled off his jacket and wrapped it around the dog. "Let's get you somewhere dry," he whispered. They made their way to the old maintenance shed at the park's edge. Slipping inside through a gap in the boards, Jamie found an old blanket and spread it out, helping the dog curl up. He stroked his friend's fur, feeling the steady rise and fall of his breathing. "You're so brave," Jamie said softly. "Braver than anyone I know." He lay beside the dog, whispering, "We'll stay here until it's safe. No one's going to take you from me." The rain kept falling. Jamie thought about everything that could go wrong, but the dog's quiet trust made him stronger. He listened to the soft breaths and knew, deep down, that he would fight for this old dog no matter how scared he was. Outside, the storm raged, but inside the little shed, boy and dog clung to each other, their bond stronger than ever. That night, Jamie made a promise. "I'll protect you. We'll face whatever comes together." The old dog wagged his tail just once and closed his eyes. Safe for another night. Jamie didn't sleep much after the chase. His mind raced with worries about animal control, Mr. Willis, and the old dog shivering alone in the dark shed. Around midnight, Jamie slid quietly from his bed, pulling on a sweatshirt and grabbing half a sandwich from the fridge. He tiptoed to the door, careful not to wake his dad, and slipped into the silent night. The park looked different under the moon. Shadows stretched across the empty playground. Jamie's breath puffed white in the cool air as he hurried toward the maintenance shed. His heart pounded with every step. He crouched by the loose board and whispered, "It's me." Inside, the old dog lifted his head, tail wagging weakly. Jamie crawled in, relief flooding through him. "Hey, boy, miss me?" The dog licked Jamie's hand, cold nose pressing into his palm. Jamie unwrapped the sandwich and broke it in half. "Here you go." The dog wolfed it down, eyes shining with gratitude. Jamie smiled. "I saved it just for you. You need it more than I do." Moonlight spilled into the shed, painting the dog's gray fur silver. Jamie took off his jacket and draped it over the dog's back. You're shivering. He rubbed the dog's sides, trying to warm him up. I wish you had a real bed. Or at least a home. The dog snuggled closer, pressing his head into Jamie's lap. Jamie stroked his ears, comforted by the gentle rhythm of the dog's breathing. It was so quiet, Jamie felt like the whole world was asleep except for them. After a while, Jamie started talking, his voice soft and honest. You know, I used to have a dog. His name was Max. He got sick last year, and Mom said it was just his time. Then she left too. Jamie swallowed, blinking away tears. Sometimes I think it's my fault, you know? Like maybe if I was better, they wouldn't have left. The old dog nuzzled Jamie's arm, as if to say he understood. Jamie smiled sadly. But you came. You always come back. He rested his head against the dog's. Comforted by the warmth, Jamie told the dog his secrets, the fights at school, the loneliness, the way his dad hardly talked to him anymore. I know you can't answer, but it helps just to say it out loud. The dog looked up, eyes gentle, and Jamie felt a little lighter. Suddenly, a twig snapped outside. Jamie's heart raced. He held the dog close, barely daring to breathe. Footsteps crunched on gravel, pausing right outside the shed. Jamie squeezed the dog, whispering, "Stay quiet, boy, please." A flashlight beam swept over the boards. Jamie ducked low, holding his breath. The light moved on, and the footsteps faded away. Jamie let out a shaky sigh. That was close. The dog licked his cheek, and Jamie managed a nervous laugh. Where? Okay, no one found us. He looked down at the dog's dirty paws, rubbing them gently. You're a mess, you know that? Jamie wiped away the mud with his sleeve, being careful not to hurt him. But you're my mess. My friend. The dog's tail thumped the ground, and Jamie grinned. You'd better not run off without me. He pulled the jacket tighter around them both. I'll always come for you. I promise. They lay together in the dark, sharing stories and silence. Jamie felt safer than he had in weeks. I wish I could take you home, maybe one day. Dawn began to creep across the sky. Jamie knew he had to get back before his dad woke up. He hugged the dog tight. I'll see you soon, okay? The dog nuzzled his chin, tail wagging softly. Jamie slipped out of the shed, sneaking back to his apartment just as the sun rose. He tried to wipe the mud from his shoes, but it was no use. As soon as he stepped inside, his dad's voice called out, Jamie? Where have you been? Jamie froze. I just went for a walk. Couldn't sleep. His dad stood in the hallway, arms crossed. You're covered in dirt. What's going on? Jamie's eyes filled with tears. He's all I have left. He cried, the words tumbling out. The dog, he needs me. Please, Dad, don't be mad. His dad's face softened, just a little. He sighed. Jamie, you can't just sneak out at night. It's not safe. Jamie wiped his eyes. He's not safe either. They're trying to take him away. I can't let that happen. His dad knelt, looking Jamie in the eyes. We'll talk about this later, okay? Jamie nodded, wiping his nose on his sleeve. That morning, Jamie went to school with worry gnawing at his chest. But he knew he'd be back for the old dog. He'd promised. And Jamie always kept his promises. Thunder rattled Jamie's window that afternoon as he finished his homework. He kept glancing at the clock, desperate for the storm to pass, but the rain just grew heavier. By evening, water pooled on the streets, lightning flashing like warning signals in the sky. Jamie pressed his forehead to the glass, worry gnawing at him. The old dog was out there alone, cold, and maybe even afraid. His dad called from the kitchen. Jamie, don't even think about going out. It's dangerous. Jamie's heart hammered. He stared at the phone, thinking about calling someone for help, but who would care about a stray dog in this weather? He waited, counting the seconds between each clap of thunder, but when the sky lit up again, he grabbed his jacket and stuffed some bread in his pocket. He slipped his shoes on and rushed for the door. "Jamie, stop right there," his dad shouted, blocking the way. Jamie's voice broke. "He's out there. He'll die if I don't help him." His dad looked torn. "It's not safe for you, Jamie." Tears streaked Jamie's cheeks. "I can't just leave him. Please, Dad." For a moment, Jamie thought his dad might actually say yes, but then another boom of thunder made him shake his head. "I'm sorry. You can't go." Jamie waited until his dad turned away, then darted out the door and into the rain. Wind whipped his face. The rain soaked him to the bone in seconds. Jamie's sneakers splashed through muddy puddles as he raced down the street, arms hugging his chest. Each step felt like a mile. He reached the park, scanning wildly for the dog. The benches were empty, trees shaking in the wind. Lightning lit up the creek, which was rising fast, water churning over the banks. Jamie's heart lurched. A faint whimper cut through the storm. Jamie followed it, stumbling toward the sound, calling, "Where are you? Boy, please, answer me." Another whine, closer now. Jamie saw a flash of gray and brown his friend, trapped behind a fallen branch, water swirling at his paws. The old dog was whimpering, his fur plastered to his body, eyes wide with terror. Jamie dropped to his knees. "Hold on, I'm coming." He crawled through the mud, branches scraping his skin, water soaking his jeans. The current pulled at him, but he grabbed the branch and heaved it aside. The old dog tried to stand, but his legs slipped. "It's okay. I've got you," Jamie promised, wrapping his arms around the dog. The creek surged higher, but Jamie fought his way back, dragging the dog up onto the muddy bank. They collapsed together, gasping, rain pounding on their backs. The dog licked Jamie's cheek, shivering hard. Jamie wrapped his jacket around the dog, holding him close. "You're safe," Jamie whispered. "I told you I'd come. I'd never leave you out here." Sirens wailed in the distance. Someone must have called for help. Jamie lay with the dog under the shelter of a willow tree, trembling from cold and fear. He looked at his friend's tired eyes and whispered, "You're the bravest dog I know." Minutes dragged by, the storm raging overhead. Jamie pressed his forehead to the dog's, feeling their shared heartbeat. "I'm not leaving, not ever. We stick together, right?" The dog's tail thumped weakly. Jamie smiled, tears mixing with rain. "Good boy." A flashlight beam sliced through the dark. A voice called, "Jamie? Jamie, is that you?" His dad's silhouette moved through the trees, frantic. "Dad, over here!" Jamie called back, struggling to his feet. His dad rushed to them, eyes wide with fear and relief. "Jamie, thank God you're okay." He wrapped them both in a blanket, holding Jamie close. Jamie's teeth chattered. "We had to help him. I couldn't leave him." His dad looked at the dog, then at Jamie. He nodded, understanding finally shining in his eyes. "Let's get you both home." They stumbled out of the park, Jamie's arm around his dad, the old dog following close, wrapped in Jamie's jacket. The storm had brought fear and danger, but it had also brought them together. That night, Jamie curled up with the old dog on the living room floor, safe and warm at last. Outside, the rain finally began to ease. Jamie whispered, "We survived, boy, together." The morning after the storm, Jamie woke to an empty bed and a heavy silence. He reached out, expecting to feel the warm weight of the old dog curled beside him, but there was nothing. Panic slammed into his chest. The dog was gone. Jamie jumped out of bed and searched the apartment, calling softly, "Here, boy, where are you?" No answer. He grabbed his coat and ran outside, heart pounding like a drum. The streets were still wet, puddles shimmering in the early light. Jamie ran to the park, eyes scanning every bench, every bush. "Lucky?" he whispered, the name he'd made up for the dog. "Please come back." Hours passed. Jamie posted flyers on telephone poles, his handwriting shaky but hopeful. "Found. Dog old, limps friendly. Please call if seen." He handed flyers to neighbors and passers-by, his voice cracking. But no one had seen the dog. Days dragged on like a nightmare. Jamie's hope withered, replaced by a cold ache that settled in his chest. School felt distant, meals tasteless. He couldn't focus on anything except finding Lucky. One afternoon, while searching the edge of the park, Jamie noticed something glinting beneath the old oak tree. Kneeling down, he reached into the mud and pulled out a rusty, worn dog tag. It was scratched and faded, but he could make out the word Lucky and a phone number. Jamie's hands trembled as he dialed the number. The phone rang twice then. A frail voice answered. "Hello?" Jamie swallowed hard. Hi. I found a dog tag in the park. It says Lucky. Is that your dog?" There was a pause, then the voice cracked with surprise. "Lucky? That was my dog's name. But he's been missing for weeks." Jamie's heart skipped. "He's old and limping. I think he's the dog in the park." The woman's voice wavered with emotion. "Oh, thank God. I've been worried." "Sick." Jamie told her where he'd last seen Lucky, describing the dog's gentle eyes and broken collar. She promised to come to the park the next day. That night, Jamie lay in bed, hope blooming like a fragile flower. Maybe Lucky had a home after all. Maybe he wasn't just strayed out. The next morning, Jamie waited at the park entrance, clutching the dog tag. The old dog wasn't with him, but Jamie felt a strange sense of peace. He wasn't alone anymore. A small car pulled up, an elderly woman stepped out, leaning heavily on a cane. Her eyes scanned the park until they landed on Jamie. "Are you the boy who found Lucky?" she asked softly. Jamie nodded. "I'm Jamie. I've been looking for him. He's my friend." The woman smiled, tears glistening. "I'm Mrs. Hawthorne. Lucky belongs to me, but he ran away after my husband passed. He was lonely, just like you." Jamie's throat tightened. "He stayed with me. I think he was looking for someone too." Mrs. Hawthorne reached into her bag and pulled out a photo of a younger Lucky, tail wagging, eyes bright. Jamie stared at the picture, feeling a deep connection. "Maybe he's not lost," Jamie whispered. "Maybe he's just trying to find where he belongs." Mrs. Hawthorne nodded. "And maybe he found that with you." Jamie looked around the park, the place where his loneliness met Lucky's. He smiled, feeling something new, hope, together. They began to plan how to bring Lucky home safely. For the first time in weeks, Jamie felt like the future might be okay. Jamie and his dad drove slowly to the address on the dog tag, the car filled with a tense silence. Jamie's heart thudded against his ribs. What would happen when they found Mrs. Hawthorne? Would she want to take Lucky back? Would he have to say goodbye? The house was small and weathered, with peeling paint and a garden overgrown with weeds. Mrs. Hawthorne stood at the gate, leaning on her cane, eyes bright and hopeful as they approached. "Jamie?" she asked softly, her voice trembling. "Thank you for calling. I've been so worried about Lucky." She opened the gate, inviting them inside. The living room smelled faintly of lavender and old books. On the wall hung faded pictures of a man and a younger Mrs. Hawthorne smiling happily. Jamie's eyes drifted to a worn collar resting on the table. One side cracked and broken. Mrs. Hawthorne wiped her eyes. "Lucky's been my companion for years. After my husband passed, I think Lucky stopped wanting to stay home. He wandered off, searching for something none of us could give him." Jamie sat quietly, the weight of her words sinking in. "I think he was searching for a friend," he said softly. "Someone who needed him like I did." Mrs. Hawthorne nodded, tears streaming down her cheeks. He's always had a way of finding lost souls. I believe he found you for a reason. Jamie looked at his dad, whose stern face softened for the first time since this all began. You kept him safe, his dad said quietly. That means something. Mrs. Hawthorne smiled, a mixture of sadness and relief. When Lucky disappeared, I thought I'd lost not just a dog, but a part of my life. Now I see he's been saving someone else. Jamie reached out, touching Lucky's coarse fur. The dog looked up, eyes meeting Jamie's. It was like they shared a secret, a bond deeper than words. Maybe we can find a way for Lucky to have both homes, Jamie suggested, hope filling his voice. Mrs. Hawthorne's eyes brightened. That would be a blessing. Jamie thought about all the nights he'd spent worrying, the lonely days in the park. Now, something felt right, a chance for healing, for family, for love. As they prepared to leave, Mrs. Hawthorne whispered, Thank you, Jamie, for seeing him, for caring. Jamie smiled, his heart swelling. Thank you for trusting me with Lucky. Outside, the sun broke through the clouds, casting warm light on the small garden. Jamie looked down at Lucky, who wagged his tail gently. For the first time, Jamie felt like he wasn't alone anymore. And Lucky had found his way home. Jamie sat on the worn porch steps of Mrs. Hawthorne's house, Lucky resting his head on Jamie's lap. The old dog looked tired but calm, eyes half closed in the late afternoon sun. Mrs. Hawthorne stood nearby, her hands trembling as she stared down at Lucky. He found you for a reason, she said softly, voice thick with tears. I can see it in his eyes. He's happier here with you. Jamie looked up at his dad, who was quiet but watching everything carefully. Dad, I want to take care of him. I promise I'll be responsible. His voice was steady but hopeful. His dad sighed deeply. Jamie, I know how much he means to you, but it's not just about wanting to keep him. Taking care of an old dog is a big responsibility. He paused. If you're ready to make that promise, I'll support you. Mrs. Hawthorne smiled. Sadly, Lucky has been my companion through the hardest years, but I know he needs more than just one home now. She looked at Jamie. Maybe sharing him between us is best, so he never feels alone. Jamie's eyes filled with tears. I don't want him to be lonely again. I want him to feel loved. Mrs. Hawthorne nodded, and he will. Between the two of us, he'll have a family. Jamie felt warmth spread through his chest. This wasn't just about keeping Lucky, it was about giving him the life he deserved. A life where he wasn't just a stray or a lost dog, but part of something bigger. His dad reached out and ruffled Jamie's hair. You're growing up fast, kid. I'm proud of you. Jamie smiled, the weight lifting from his shoulders. Thank you, Dad. Double quotes. Mrs. Hawthorne wiped her eyes. I'll bring Lucky here sometimes, and Jamie, you can visit any time. Her voice cracked with emotion. Jamie hugged the old woman tightly. Thank you for everything. Lucky wagged his tail softly, resting his head on Jamie's knee as if he understood every word. As the sun dipped behind the trees, Jamie looked up at the sky and whispered, We're going to be okay, together. And for the first time in a long while, hope felt real. Not just a flicker, but a steady, glowing light. Word spread quickly about Jamie and Lucky, the old dog who had found a family in the most unlikely place, a quiet city park. Children started coming back, drawn by the stories whispered among neighbors and classmates. Adults curious about the dog who brought hope began to visit too. The park, once a place of loneliness, was changing. Jamie sat on their favorite bench with Lucky resting beside him, tail thumping softly. He watched a group of kids laughing as they played nearby, their faces bright with joy. Jamie felt a warmth in his chest he hadn't known for months. A woman approached, carrying a small bag of dog treats. Is this Lucky? She asked softly. Jamie nodded, He's amazing. I lost my own dog last year, and seeing him here, it's like he's bringing us all together." Jamie smiled, handing Lucky a treat. The dog's eyes sparkled as he gobbled it down, then nudged Jamie's hand. Gently. "He's a good boy," Jamie whispered. A few other park visitors gathered around, sharing stories about their own struggles. The park became a refuge, a place where loneliness softened, replaced by quiet healing. One afternoon, Jamie overheard a little girl telling her mother, "Lucky makes me feel safe." Jamie's eyes filled with tears. "That's what he does," he said softly. Lucky wagged his tail, resting his head on Jamie's knee. Jamie's dad stood nearby, watching the scene. He smiled and said, "You were right, Jamie. Lucky is more than just a dog. He's a miracle." Jamie nodded, feeling the truth in those words. Lucky had healed more than just Jamie's heart. He'd brought hope to the whole neighborhood. As the sun set, painting the sky gold, Jamie whispered to Lucky, "Thank you for finding me." Lucky closed his eyes, peaceful at last, surrounded by love. The park was no longer a place to be afraid of. It was a place where second chances lived and where miracles happened every day. Summer had arrived, and the park was alive with laughter and light. Jamie sat on their bench, Lucky resting comfortably at his feet, a soft breeze carrying the scent of freshly cut grass. Around them, families and neighbors gathered, sharing stories and smiles. Jamie's dad and Mrs. Hawthorne stood nearby, talking quietly but smiling warmly at the scene. Jamie looked up and felt a peace he hadn't known in years. The loneliness that once shadowed his days had lifted, replaced by a sense of belonging. Children played nearby, some petting Lucky gently, others chasing bubbles floating in the air. Lucky's tail wagged slowly, eyes half closed, content in the warmth of so much love. Jamie whispered, "Thank you, Lucky, for saving me." Lucky's head lifted and he gave a soft bark, almost like an answer. Jamie's dad put a hand on his shoulder. "You've done a good thing, son. You saved each other." Mrs. Hawthorne nodded, tears in her eyes. "Lucky brought us all together. We're family now." Jamie smiled, feeling the weight of those words settle comfortably around him. It wasn't just about the dog anymore. It was about the people he had met, the connections formed, and the hope that had blossomed. As the sun dipped low, casting golden light over the park, Jamie and Lucky sat side by side. Jamie rested his head against the old dog's soft fur, feeling the steady, peaceful rhythm of his breathing. For the first time in a long time, Jamie knew he was home. And Lucky, old and tired, knew he was finally where he belonged, together. In the sun, surrounded by love, they faced the future, not alone, but united. Did this story touch your heart? Give it a thumbs up, share it around, and drop your location in the comments.